inching closer and closer to the February 6th NBA trade deadline. On today's episode of the Heat Report by Chat Sports, we are going to take a look at what my perfect NBA trade deadline would look like for the Miami Heat. Now, this is not actually on the deadline day of February 6th. This is just from now until then, as the Heat have still yet to trade Jimmy Butler. And boy, will we talk about that on today's show. I am Nic Rohloff. But before we get into all of that, make sure you are subscribed and make sure you also have your notifications turned on, because I will be live for the NBA trade deadline, no matter if Jimmy's trade by then or if he's still on the roster. I will be live breaking down everything in the NBA and for the Miami Heat on February 6th, so hit that sub button and join us. All right, in my own opinion, the perfect trade deadline for the Miami Heat is only two trades in equally two steps. I don't think it's that complicated. Now, obviously, all trades are complicated, so I know it is complicated. But the first step is trading Jimmy Butler, and we're going to trade him to the Golden State Warriors for Andrew Wiggins and picks. I know it's been widely reported out there that the Raptors would like to get in on a three-team deal involving Butler to potentially land them Andrew Wiggins, because that's someone they covet. But in this three-team deal that involves Golden State and the Raptors, the Heat actually keep Andrew Wiggins. In this Jimmy Butler perfect trade idea for me, Andrew Wiggins, Chris Boucher, Kevon Looney, a 2025 first-round pick, plus 2 second-round picks. Only 1 first-round pick. You get 2 seconds in 2030 and 31. The Heat give up Alec Burks, Jimmy Butler, to get those draft capital and players, and the Raptors facilitate with contracts, and they net themselves a second-round pick from Golden State, ironically via Miami, in 2025 to help us get this done. And I know a lot of people might be underwhelmed from this trade package, but based off everything I'm seeing and hearing, it feels like Andrew Wiggins at NBA draft capital might ultimately be the best it gets for the Miami Heat. And unfortunately, that is the case, but Butler's trade value has gone so downhill. There has not been that many suitors, and with Jimmy kind of telling teams that he won't play in specific spots, the Heat are kind of left holding a bag that not a lot of people want. So the package that is coming back to Miami likely won't be that good. So if you're able to get a 3-and-D wing like Wiggins, plus some NBA draft capital and 2 expiring contracts that are $18 million in total, and Looney and Boucher, I would be in on this deal. But let me know your thoughts. Would you accept this trade? Would you do Butler and Alec Burks for Wiggins, Boucher, Looney, and 2 second-round picks? Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. And I mentioned Wiggins the other day as I ranked the possible Heat trade packages they could get back for Jimmy Butler. I think Wiggins is someone that's really growing on me. And yes, his contract runs through the 26-27 season with a player option. And Miami, we know, does not want contracts running through that offseason, so they could have max flexibility for a potential All-NBA or All-Star caliber guy to become a free agent. But Wiggins would help this team immediately, and who knows, maybe he ultimately opts out of that $30 million player option in 26-27, and he still provides you the flexibility if he plays well in Miami. I think he would be a good 3 in this Heat system. Think about it. The Heat, as their current roster is constructed, need a 3-and-D guy at that wing spot. Highsmith has been okay, but Wiggins would take it to a different level. You'd have a starting lineup of Hero, Duncan Robinson, Wiggins, Bam, and Kel'el Ware that's got athleticism, it's got defense, it's got shooting. That's a group that I think could be very good for Miami. Is it a championship contending group? No, absolutely not. But it is a 5-man lineup that I think that could be really competitive and compete with almost every team in the Eastern Conference, but I don't think they would win it all. Coming up in just a second, we're going to move on to step 2 on my perfect NBA trade deadline for the Miami Heat. But before we get to step 2, I got to tell you about our sponsor. That is Prize Picks, the #1 daily fantasy sports platform an app in North America. I play Prize Picks every single day. All you do is pick more or less on at least 2 players, and you can win up to 1,000 times your cash right now on Prize Picks. And the big game in football is almost here. It's a week away. Don't miss out on the free entry they're giving you. Yes, one yard is all it takes for Patrick Mahomes to get you a win. And then if you combine that with one more stat projection, you can win real cash. Do not miss out on the last football game of the season with this free game big pick from Prize Picks. You can play daily in basketball, hockey, combined sports. You can do it all. Prize Picks also offers weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday. Each Tuesday, Prize Picks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value for your lineups. Join me and millions of others on Prize Picks right now. Download the app and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly when you place your first $5. One more time, download the app and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5. It's guaranteed. You don't even need to win to get the $50. Prize Picks. Run your game. Step 2 in my perfect trade deadline for the Miami Heat is flipping Terry Rozier and second-round picks to the Chicago Bulls for the point guard Lonzo Ball. Yes, it's a minute move, but I think it's a move that it could ultimately provide dividends for Miami, and we've talked about this possibility for a long time on social media as well as on the channel. So the trade is this. Lonzo Ball ends up in Miami. The Bulls get Terry Rozier and the 2 second-round picks you got from the Golden State Warriors and the Jimmy Butler trade. So when you do the full accounting and math, it's ultimately a 4-team deal, but I just wanted to break it down in 2 steps. So the Heat get Lonzo Ball, Kevon Looney, Chris Boucher, Jimmy Butler, and 1 first-round pick in 2025. They move off of Terry Rozier so they don't have to deal with his contract next season or the headache of what is happening with that federal investigation Jimmy Butler's moved on from. And I think it could ultimately benefit Miami this season and long-term as well. Lonzo's not going to put up gaudy stats, but he's someone that would impact the Miami Heat roster in a big way. He has finally been able to stay on the court for the most part, not playing back-to-back, still has missed some games here and there, but not an extended period of time. He is someone that could be very, very good for the Miami Heat, and I think he's been one of my top targets for a while. I think he could be the perfect point guard for the Miami Heat because he displays athleticism, length, IQ that we know the Heat value in certain players. And we'll talk more about Lonzo here in just a second, but let me know your thoughts. Would you trade for Lonzo Ball at the deadline after dealing Jimmy Butler, type Y for yes or type N for no? Why I am so adamant about acquiring Lonzo Ball, it's very simple. There's 4 reasons that I think he would really help out Miami. 1, he's got length and athleticism. Sure, he's not the athlete he was at UCLA or coming out of the league because he's had to deal with those knee issues, but it seems like his knee is finally cooperating. But he's 6'6" with a 6'8" wingspan. Like, he's athletic, he's long, and he is the perfect person to pair up with Tyler Hero in the backcourt because he would hide some of Tyler's deficiencies in terms of having to always handle the ball, maybe some of those turnovers. And then you talk about the defensive side as well. He is a good defender at the point of attack. Lonzo Ball's IQ is also off the charts. He is one of the most smart players in the league, knows how to position himself, knows when to make the right pass, lob it, bounce pass it, chest pass. His IQ is crazy. The three-point shot is continuing to improve. He was shooting 40% before his injury. Yeah, he's only shooting 34.7% on the season for the Chicago Bulls, but he is shooting 40% from beyond the arc over his last 10 games for the Bulls. So it's starting to come back to that form that it was at before the injuries that have kept him out for the past 2.5 years. Plus, he is an expiring contract that we know the Miami Heat value so much in this return of Butler and other trades at the deadline. It's $21 million coming off your books in the offseason. You'd get the choice, though, because if you like the way he played for the final 30 games of the season for you, you'd be able to extend him for relatively cheap because of that injury history in the offseason and free agency, or you could just let that money come off the books and have $21 million to play with in free agency. It's a win-win in my books. So after this perfect trade deadline, the Heat's roster would look like this. You have Lonzo Ball and Tyler Hero as your starting backcourt. Kel'el Ware, Bam Adebayo, and Andrew Wiggins as your 3, 4, and 5. I think it has the right in terms of athleticism. It's got 3-point shooting, it's got defense, it's got a perfect blend of everything you're looking for in terms of being a competitive playoff team. The Heat would be a better team with this group, no questions asked. And you still have Nikola Jovic, Duncan Robinson, Jaime Jaquez Jr., Haywood Highsmith coming off the bench, and then I'd probably slot in Chris Boucher, who you got in that Butler deal that I talked about earlier, as your 10th man. But not only are you getting this much better lineup in rotation, but you're also netting a 2025 unprotected first-round pick from Golden State. And yes, they'll likely be in the playoffs, but I don't think they'll really win anything. So that pick would likely be anywhere between 15 and 19 probably. I think they'd make the playoffs, make the play-in, and maybe if they lose the play-in too. I don't think they would lose the play-in with Jimmy and Steph, but they could lose easily in the first round of the playoffs and be picking 15, 16, and that pick is relatively good for Miami in a pretty loaded NBA draft class in 2025. I think you get the draft pick that you could either use or trade. You get win-now pieces as well. I think it's a win-win-win-win-win all the way around for the Miami Heat. But let me know your thoughts. You saw the simple two-step process that I put into place for the Heat in my perfect NBA trade deadline. Grade my perfect deadline 1 through 10. No rookie scores. Give me decimals. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments section. And we will be live on NBA Trade Deadline. Like I mentioned, we are about 300 subscribers away from 18,000. The goal is to be at 18,000 before Thursday's NBA Trade Deadline. Can we get there between now and Wednesday night? I think we can. Hit that sub button. If you're not subscribed and you're still watching, you clearly like what we're doing, so join us here at the Heat Report.